Welcome to Real Quick. My name is Gino Giovanni. Let's get started. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and that the tyrannical government in California or New York didn't have to apply force to prevent you from enjoying one of America's traditional holidays. It seems like in the year 2020, the left has been trying to erase our history, knock over statues, burn books, desecrate our flag, which has been happening for decades, to creating false news narratives, keeping us in our homes, to finally pushing their guy as, quote, president-elect when he has not won. Anyone who pays attention to what is really happening will see Joe Biden has not won anything just yet. It proves the left will stop at nothing to change our country. That will include lying, cheating, and stealing. That being said, happy Monday. For those of you going to work today, I hope you have your game jersey on your body. A lot of Americans dread Monday and work for the weekend. I changed that mindset many years ago and look forward to Mondays. It gives me the chance to do better than I did the previous week. I enjoy the spirit of making something out of nothing. That will include this podcast or my day job in marketing. No matter what happens while we await the results of the election of 2020, you can determine your own destiny and find opportunities even in the darkest of times. With that being said, let's get into the rundown. The election continues in a whirlwind. Wisconsin certifies its votes for VP Biden. Trump's legal team scores another victory as Dominion voting machines in Georgia ordered to not be reset, then not be reset as of late last night. Sidney Powell's, or the Kraken, produces and submits 30 pieces of evidence of voter fraud for her case. And Michael Flynn will be pardoned. Anyone else find it odd? A few weeks ago, after the election of our lifetime, the Democrats and the mainstream press decided to award Joe Biden president-elect. Is it just me, or does anyone else have a problem with what happened? On election night, the voting stopped late into the next morning. President Trump was up in all the swing states, 700,000 in Pennsylvania. This is the most significant election for the future of our nation. In one corner, you have liberalism, globalism, and the far left. On the opposite side, you have capitalism, traditional Americans, and Make America Great Again. Our country is so divided as the divide in the election totally became wider. And the Democrats did what they do best. They created a law, they screw up the law, and then they shout racism. In that order. The order of operation is how they operate. I'm going to concentrate on 3 points here. One, the Democrats will stop at nothing for power. Okay, that's already been established. Here is the following. They create 100% risk the country going into turmoil, pinning us against one another, and being devoured by foreign enemies like China. Number two, the news press and their dishonest reporting. If we had an honest press, VP Biden would have lost so much more, and Trump would have clearly been a shoo-in for a landslide. More Americans would love President Trump instead of hating him. And three, the big tech companies should be held liable for their censoring of the truth in their fictitious virtual world. We see the social media giants, Google, and many more claim to be a platform for the truth and ideas in the news. And they aren't. It's to appease the left Americans. And they managed to fool up to 80 million Americans on November 3rd to elect Joe Biden or put him in the lead. Anyone who has been paying close attention knows Americans would not dare vote for an old man who doesn't know what he ran for. His cognitive skills have been in question for years, and he has a record of incarcerating thousands of black fathers due to his crime bill. Many Americans don't know what they got for voting for VP Biden. They don't know what he is all about until now, and we see him pushing his globalist agenda. The world first and American second or third. Tell that to the people of Scranton. And by the way, does anyone really think Joe Biden was voted for 80 million times? More votes than President Obama? The turnout was so high for an old white man who the left don't like, and who stayed in his basement most of the campaign, including the last 5 days of the campaign. I certainly don't think so. And we are finding out now that thousands and thousands of votes were not registered and counted multiple times for Joe Biden. And the evidence is piling up more and more, not to mention the way the mail-in ballots were formatted and sent out was unconstitutional. It went against state law in Pennsylvania. This election has a chance to be overturned, ladies and gentlemen. The Trump legal team has more evidence than the left can deal with. In fact, the press in the last week has admitted at least some voter fraud has taken place, but, quote, it won't make a difference. And even fake news CNN dedicated a few minutes last week showcasing how President Trump could still win. You cannot compete with the leftists on facts. It's impossible. They don't want to hear facts. They are not about facts. I would not fall into the trap of debating a leftist with facts. I would instead use wit and humor to make them look like jackasses. Slowly but surely, President Trump has been gaining ground since November 3rd. One day is a setback or a little loss, which the news media loves and will report. Then the next day, Trump legal team wins, and the news media fails to report. One last point on this topic. I would not count President Trump out at this point. The Vegas odds had him at a 1 out of 10 chance of winning. The odds are low, but they give him a chance. The odd makers don't want to lose money either if this race turns out in Trump's favor. In the last 4 years, President Trump has looked defeated at times. That is the narrative the press wants you to believe. But then he comes roaring back like a lion. And the enemies of this man didn't know what hit him. I'm not counting this man out. We don't know his game plan, but only speculate. And anyone who studies or knows, President Trump is a good trickster. And like he said at every rally, at the very end, quote, the best is yet to come. Now, I always thought of that as part of his speech going into 2021, that, okay, we're going to have a better economy. No. He's had something and been working on something for these last 4 years. And he knew what was about to happen. And he predicted it, and he was right. And that was the Dems doing everything they can to get him out of office or make him lose in this election. But he is holding his trump card to the very end. He's making that Hail Mary pass and calculating it so well that someone's going to catch it in the end zone. And it's going to be one of his teammates. So you have to keep the faith, America. Not just for any Trump supporters, but for the future of this nation. If you want globalism, America second, third, fourth, or last, China taking over, jobs sent overseas, wages stagnant, pretty much what we had in the Obama administration, then by all means go for Biden. But if you like what's been happening the last 4 years, and you stick with President Trump. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, let's switch things up to our last segment. Black Lives Matter. That's right. The little group called BLM making news. Actually, they don't really make news. It's just that they have a new ad out, and it's all over YouTube. And just was so reluctant to have it come up on my feed. It's almost like a little joke that Alphabet is playing with me. But yeah, they have this racist commercial out where, you know, the whole commercial is, well, it's gearing towards them, and it's trying to establish their movement. But I really can't remember all of it. But the only thing that stood out was the very end. And I would play it for you. But you know what? I'm not trying to give them any airtime. But I would like to talk about this commercial for a little bit. And the very end of the commercial states, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. And so, is that one of the most racist things you've ever heard in your life? All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's condescending, it's elitist, it's a lot of things. This is coming from an organization that only concentrates on Black lives as if a criminal or a person who is perceived to be a criminal gets shot and dies or beat up. They don't talk about the black on black crime. They don't talk about abortions. They don't talk about schools. They don't talk about poverty. They don't talk about drug use. They don't talk about incarcerations. They don't talk about none of that. They only concentrate as if a white cop, and sometimes there have been black cops, but they only concentrate when a person from the hood gets gunned down. That's it. It's an organization of hypocrisy. You have, it started out with like this movement of a slogan that I think everybody, every right-minded American could get behind. Then it turned into like this movement. Then it turned into like an organization that is run by two white Democrats, or owned, I should say, by two white Democrats in a company called Act Blue. And BLM is run by three, quote unquote, trained Marxist lesbians. But this organization, though, has raised $2 billion in the last 5 years. And where does all that money go? Goes straight to the Democrat Party. That's the one thing I'm going to give the Democrats credit for. They really know how to raise other people's money and spend it. When Republicans are known for raising money for charities. Big difference. But that's beside the point. I don't know. I just think that commercial that they put out, it's just, I think it's just disgusting and so racial. I don't think anyone can really take them seriously now. I think at one point they were at a really big advantage when, during all the riots, them and Antifa teaming up and causing riots throughout all America. But, I still say that the Make America Great Again movement is so much bigger, so much stronger, so much more wholesome, and means more, and will continue to live on whether President Trump will stay in office these next 4 years or not. That is the real sleeping giant. And Black Lives Matter, it's like a gimmick. A friend of mine told me this last week. It's like a gimmick. And, it only comes around every once in a while, like usually during elections. So they got what they wanted, and they got Biden. Well, Biden's not really in, but they're a movement that's making a lot of money. And I'm sure that the 3 trained Marxist lesbians are profiting off of it. I really do think so. And, they got this really nice looking commercial, all hip and very urban and people's fists in the air. And then they say, all lives can't matter before Black Lives Matter. Geez. Where's the Martin Luther Kings of this world, of America? Martin Luther King Jr. would not have said something like that at all. At all. I don't know the man, but I've studied him enough where he would not have said something like that. But this is not about racial equality. It's not. And we shall see what happens in the coming months and in the coming weeks. And just be on the lookout because Donald Trump has, on my mind, a decent shot of getting back in for the next 4 years. We'll be right back after this. As we conclude today's podcast, I want to hear from you, the listener. Go to anchor.fm/Real Quick with Gio and Giovanni and leave me a voicemail about the show, a comment, and a question. You can also do the same on our SoundCloud page and YouTube channel, Gino Giovanni Presents. I'm on just about all social media, including Parler at Gino Giovanni, which has gained a lot of subscribers since the election, and how the big tech is on a mission to censor conservatives. You could tune into our podcasts on all major podcast platforms, so don't miss an episode. You've been listening to Real Quick with Gino Giovanni. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day, and may God bless you.